I'm Ben Summers. I came from Bicknell, Indiana. I grew up right outside of town in Bicknell, Indiana. I kind of struggled with fitting in and stuff like that. Um, I started drinking and partying and using drugs eventually just to fit into the party crowd, really. I was probably 12 or 13 when I started smoking marijuana and drinking alcohol on the regular. Maybe maybe 16, 17 when I started using meth. By the time I was 20, I had a really bad meth addiction. I drank alcohol every day of the week, various pills and stuff like that when I could get my hands on them. I lived out in the country, and my parents had split up, and my dad worked nights, so I had the house out there in the country to be able to do whatever with. And so when Dad would leave, I'd throw these big parties out there, and it helped me with popularity and stuff like that. And I thought all these people were my friends, and I really enjoyed, hanging out with people and thinking that people were liking me because they wanted to hang out with me. After high school was over, it was kind of a reality check because I hadn't really done much in the real world. I hadn't really worked towards anything. And so I went to college for automotive, and I did not like it. But being at college, it connected me with a lot of the same type of people also. People that were partying, people that had access to different drugs and stuff that I didn't. It kind of got magnified when there was all these possibilities of different drugs and stuff like that coming in from different areas of the country, even from people that go to a college. People would go home on Christmas break or whatever like that, and they would bring drugs home, or they would bring drugs back to school and sell them. Well, so that spiraled really quickly. I was doing cocaine behind the school during time I was supposed to be in class. The school would loan me as much money as I wanted on my card, and I would go cash it for cash and go buy drugs. And so I ended up dropping out of college after 2 years. I had passed all my automotive classes. I had A's in all my automotive classes, but they required math and history and so on and so forth. And I wasn't succeeding in my math because my grade in math went down to below a B. They took my scholarship away. So I was in debt and didn't have a degree. And so I went into the factory work setting, and there were so many drugs everywhere that if I wanted to use that, I could get it easily. There were so many options for me to be able to use, and I just continued to spiral and spiral and spiral, and it got to the point where it wasn't fun anymore. The party was over, and I couldn't get sober. I couldn't stop. I knew that if I wanted to raise my child, that I needed to go get sobered up. And I went, and when I went there, they asked me what my drug of choice was, and I said more. It wasn't anything specific. It was just more. If there was anything that made me feel a different way. If there was an activity that made me feel good, I wanted more of it until it was no longer good. And so I left and was homeless, trying to stay sober, and thank God, where I worked before I left hired me back. I was welding seatbelt harnesses at Toyota, Boshuku in Illinois. They hired me back, and I lived in my van in the parking lot and worked for 3 weeks. My third week, I got paid, and I went and rented a house. And my fight with DCS to get my child back started, which I in turn won. I got full custody of my daughter, and things were really good for a while. I got into a car wreck where me and a person was crossing a sidewalk, a street crossing, and I hit them when I was pulling up to the stop sign. They got like a scraped knee out of it, but it sent me into this downward spiral of depression because I felt bad. The person was okay. I felt bad because I wasn't paying attention, and it scared me and stuff like that. My house started to look in a mess. I stopped taking care of myself as well. I started using again, and I called my kid's grandma and asked her to come get my kid. She was 3. I'm starting to lose hope on getting it back together. I'm being hard on myself for relapsing. I'm being hard on myself for not being there for my daughter, so on and so forth. And I tried to overdose. I decided that I had seen her. I had seen my daughter through video chat. She seemed happy, and somewhere deep in my mind, in a messed up state and depressed, I decided that she was better off without me. I decided that everyone was better off without me. So I took a half a syringe of morphine, liquid morphine, and a half a syringe of methamphetamine. I mixed it and shot it up all at once. I remember hallucinating for what seems like forever. I hallucinated that there was beings around my bed screaming all the bad things I'd ever done in my life at me. I remember hallucinating that they just kept getting closer and closer to me. And right before the point where I thought they would be able to reach me, because it was like they were physically attacking me. About the moment that they would have, if they had been real, would have touched me, I cried out to God. I said, I can't do this anymore. I don't know what to do. I don't know how this looks, but I need your help. I cried out to him and said that I would be a vessel. I needed him to break me down and form me like clay. I had seen a Bible verse a couple weeks before that where I'd been doing some work for a preacher, and he had told me about the potter's wheel. And when I cried out, I remember It was like, so I had become tense on my bed, just every muscle straining and like screaming. And as soon as I cried out to God, I went limp and I felt so light. And I remember everything I was hallucinating just went away. And I felt better. I felt better for the first time in a long time. I felt peace. I felt somewhat of hope that I was going to live for once. And I fell asleep. I was finally calm enough that I fell asleep. And when I woke up, I threw my clothes on and I went to work. And everyone was acting weird. And I didn't understand why. I was doing all my stuff that I normally would on a Monday morning. We all get ready to leave, and I'm grabbing my paperwork, and there's a stack of paperwork. And I was confused. I asked somebody, and they were like, dude, you haven't been here for 2 days. It's Wednesday. So I had laid there in my house, so close to dying, hallucinating for 3.5, 4 days, and thought it was a matter of maybe 12 hours, maybe 2 days is what I thought. So luckily at this time, I was working for a pastor in Bicknell, Indiana. He had oil fields, and that's where I was working. And they kind of pulled me aside. The conversation was brought up about drugs, and I kind of told them what had happened, that I was giving up and that I needed help. And they helped me get connected with Rebuilt. It has just been so good since. I mean, other places, the other place I had been, it was more like an institution. I didn't feel like I was locked in a cage. If I wanted to leave, I could have. And that's what made the difference, is that I didn't want to. I knew that the people here loved me and cared about me, rather than it being their job to make sure that I didn't leave. Rather than me staying here gave them a paycheck, it was me staying here gave them and others hope, because it showed testimony and just, they loved me, they cared. I built relationships with these people. It's just become a family. Almost a year later, I'm still here. I'm not in the recovery center, of course, but I do help there sometimes. I remember coming in that place so messed up and didn't have any hope and was just lost. And then now being able to go up there and talk with the guys and have Bible studies and be leading the Bible study sometimes just is overwhelming to me. It almost brought me to tears, because I was like, a year ago, I would have never thought that I would be sober. I would have never thought that I would be helping at the recovery center versus they're trying to kick addiction. I'm coming up on 16 months sober, and my kid was with me. She was running around. I could hear her out there in the living room just having a good time. Being able to hear my kid run around laughing in the background is just that much more better.